Hi, third and fourth grade writers. Today we are starting session 3 of our personal narrative writing unit. And this session is all about drawing on a repertoire of strategies. And what that means is using several strategies to help us come up with ideas for true stories. So yesterday we talked about how writers can think of a person that's really special to them. And then if they think of that person, they think of small moments they've had with that person. And after they make a list of those small moments, they can choose one, and then they write that entire small moment story. So if you're ever finding yourself struggling to think of a story idea that's a true story, something that happened to you, that's the first strategy you can use. And today we're going to talk about that second strategy. Before we start that though, I've been thinking a lot about how writers are like athletes. So if you look at the screen, there's somebody writing in their notebook and then there's somebody playing basketball. And to me, writers and athletes are so similar. And it starts with our first session where we made goals for ourselves as writers. And as a writer, you set goals for yourself like an athlete sets goals for themselves. And then they work to meet that goal. It takes endurance, perseverance, effort, and the willingness to want to get better. And just like an athlete does that to improve their game, to get better at their sport, writers do that to get better at their writing. And also, like athletes, writers have many strategies for completing a writing assignment or writing a story. They have different ways that they meet their goal, just like athletes have different ways that they might win a game. If you play basketball, you know that there are plays that you use when you're on offense, when you're trying to drive the ball to the net. You have different plays that you use to get the ball to the net. Writers have different plays that they use to get their writing on paper, to get a story written. And so I just want you to keep that in mind, that being a writer is like being an athlete. You have to have endurance, which means you can write for a long time, just like you can play for a long time. You have to have perseverance, which is working through challenges and not giving up. And you have to put your best effort in, just like you would if you were an athlete. So I want you to keep that in mind as we go through our lesson today. So today we're talking about that second strategy for finding ideas for true stories. And this second strategy starts by thinking of a place that matters to you. So instead of a person, think of a place. So I want you to take 30 seconds. I'll set a timer. Take 30 seconds. Think of a place that matters to you. And this should be a place that you have many memories. I keep thinking of Bachelor Middle School, which is the school that I went to. So I have a lot of memories there. Being a 7th and an 8th grader, I also grew up right by Bachelor. So I would go there all the time. Since I was a little kid, we'd go on walks with my family around there. I just grew up in that area. So Bachelor Middle School is the place I'm thinking of. Another place that you could think of is like your house or your neighborhood or your backyard or Unionville. Or if you go to church, you could write about your church. So just think about that place. I'll give you 30 seconds. I'm going to start the timer. Okay. So I hope that you have had enough time to think of a place that matters to you. And I went ahead and I wrote that time or that place on the board behind me. I'll show that in a little bit. Okay, you don't need to write anything down. Right now you're just thinking of a place that matters. So once you have a place that matters to you, you're going to map out small moments. Now yesterday we listed our small moments, and today is a little bit different because we're talking about a place and not a person. So we're going to map out our small moments, and let me show you what that looks like. So I'm going to make this a little bit bigger. There we go. So up here, I've got Bachelor Middle School. I put MS for short. So bachelor, and I know this might be backwards on your screen, I'm not sure, but the picture will be okay. So I'm literally going to draw a map, and I'm going to take about a minute or 2 minutes to do this because this is not the important part of this process. It is an important part, but it's not the most important part. So you don't want to put too much time into it. So I'm going to draw the school first. And like I said, this is a sketch. So I'm literally drawing a rectangle with another rectangle and a dot. There's the school. And then I've got the field. Big field. If you've ever seen Bachelor Middle School, it's huge. I've got the football field over here. So there's my football field. That kind of looks like a basketball court. Oh, well. Then there are a bunch of trees all around here. If you've ever been to Bachelor, you know it's a very tree-y, plant-heavy area. And then there's a creek that runs right here. Oh, and that makes me think of a memory. I'm thinking of my dog, Daisy, and how I would walk her, and she loved to play in the creek. So I'm going to put a number 1 there because that's the first memory I'm thinking of. So the point of sketching this map is to help you visualize where your memories happened at this location. Okay, so I'm going to keep drawing. I know right here I've got a huge hill. This hill, I have had so many memories sledding on with my sister and my mom and my dad in the wintertime. So that makes me think of a second memory. So I'm going to label that with a number 2. Okay, I'm trying to think. Oh, there's a sidewalk. And this sidewalk goes from the school to my neighborhood. And like I said, I used to live right by this place. So I would walk to school because I lived so close. So I'm going to draw a picture of me, just real quick, and a picture of my friend Danielle. We would walk to school all the time, and it was the best. We had the best time walking together to school and from school. It was just kind of like our time together to hang out, and I loved it, and I have a lot of fun memories with that. So I've drawn my map very quickly, and I labeled places where memories have happened. So if you'd like, you could then, for the next step, go ahead and actually make a list of those small moments. I'm going to just write them right here. 1, walk in creek with Daisy. Now this might be backwards on there, but I'm speaking it, so you get the point. Walk in the creek with Daisy, sled downhill. And there were so many times where I caught air and then I flipped my sled over. And I'm thinking of one specific memory where it hurt really, really bad. So I'm going to write that specific memory down. So I slid down the hill and got hurt. And then the third memory right here was when I was walking with my friend Danielle. And there was one time where, and maybe this has happened to you, where we were laughing so hard that Danielle peed her pants. And she had to walk the whole way home with pants that she had just peed in, which was so funny at the time. So I'm going to write Danielle peed her pants. Okay. So that is my quick sketch with labeled numbers 1, 2, and 3 for my 3 memories I thought of. And then I went ahead and wrote them down. This step is optional, writing them down, but for me it helps to not only label it, but to also explain it just briefly. Okay. I'm going to switch gears here and go back to our slide to see what the next step is. Okay. So we have thought of a place that matters to us. We have mapped out our small moments. Now we need to choose one. I think I'm going to go ahead and choose my memory of sledding down that hill because that has sort of stuck with me. Sledding down the hill and getting really hurt. So that's the memory that I pick. So you're going to pick a memory that matters to you, the one that you like the most. And then the last step is to write it, to write your story. So we thought of a place that matters. We mapped them out. We chose a small moment, and then we wrote the story. That's the next step. So if I were to write the story, the thing that I do to help me start the writing process is to visualize the memory in my mind. And if I visualize it like a movie, then I feel like I can write better. I can write more creatively, because when you watch a movie, you notice all these details happening. You can see what the weather looks like. You can see what people are wearing. If they're at a restaurant, you can imagine the smells going on. If they're outside, you can imagine the smells. If it's wintertime, how would you feel? You'd feel cold. If you got hurt when you were sledding, you'd probably like think of that feeling inside when you're like, oh no, I'm about to get hurt. So if you picture the memory in your mind like a movie, it helps you start that writing process. You feel so much more creative because you've made a picture in your mind. And so much of writing is taking that picture in your mind and putting it on paper so that when other people read it, they get that picture of that movie in their mind. So that's the last step, is to write your story. So visualize it in your head like a movie and then start writing. And you need to fill the page. You need to write at least 20 lines for your story. So that's exactly what I would like you to do. So you're going to practice this strategy that I taught you. And there's an example on the screen right now that says the beach. This is by a third grader. And it says, the time I went to get something to drink, when I came back, the seagulls took my sandwich. The time I digged my sister in the sand. The time I found a big, big seashell in the sand. Making sand castles, going swimming with my sister, and taking a suntan with my mom. So it looks like this person put 2 stars. They put one with the first memory and one with the fourth memory. So I'm not sure which one they picked. But this is a couple of the steps. Think of the place that matters. So this person thought of the beach, and then they wrote down their small moments. We don't see their map, but they had a map, and then they wrote the story. So maybe it was about that first memory or that fourth memory. We don't know. But I'd like for you to practice this strategy. And actually, before you even do that, I just want to point out also that if you have an idea for a story in your mind of something true that happened to you, and you didn't use a strategy to get there, that's okay. Writers don't have to follow strategies. Sometimes they're just inspired, or they think of something, it pops into their head. You can absolutely write those things down too. It's just that the strategies are nice when you get stuck and you don't know what to write. So that's the point of teaching these strategies, is as writers, we come to points where we are just completely stuck. We don't know what to do. And if you can have a couple strategies to look to for ideas, it's a great place to start. So your assignment today is to think of a place that matters to you. Map out your small moments like I did right behind me. Go ahead and label them with a 1, a 2, and a 3. Write down those small moments, and then go ahead and pick one and write your story. That's it. That's all you need to do. And you need to fill 20 lines with your story. 20 lines. And then tomorrow, we're going to talk about how writers draw in their readers. They sort of hook their readers by telling them their stories in scenes rather than summaries. So I'm going to leave you with that thought. And I can't wait to see what you write, what place you write about, what your map looks like, and what your story is. Thank you so much, writers. Good luck.